Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server. We're having a look at a new medium tank which is coming into War Thunder in the next major update. This is the Chieftain Mark 900 and I'm really happy to see this vehicle. First of all, it's in the British tech tree. You'll find it on the left hand side basically with all of the other Chieftains, and you'll find it at the same BR as the Mark 10. This means that the Mark 10 has a little bit of help at the BR, since if you have a look at 9.0, all you have is the Badger. And as somebody who really doesn't like the Badger, it's actually nice to get a few other vehicles alongside, which at least comparable to 9.0 instead of having to run the other Chieftains, which feel a little bit slow. So with the Chieftain Mark 10 being at 9.0, what is its big upgrade over the Mark 5, which is at 8.7? Basically, it's the Steel Brew Armour that you can see on the turret. It also gets access to an APFS DS round, the L23, which helps it out with the 120mm. Now with the Chieftain Mark 900, you can see it doesn't get access to the Steel Brew, but it does get access to the L23, and this vehicle's upgrade over the Mark 5, which is the major upgrade, is the engine and transmission combo. This vehicle has the Rolls-Royce Condor 900E. This gives it 912 horsepower, and also it gets an improved transmission, meaning that it can go 48 kilometers an hour forward and 11 kilometers an hour backwards. This just means it's a little bit quicker to be able to move around the place, so you kind of have a choice on your hands. Do you want to get a vehicle which is a bit more mobile and able to kind of move around a little bit better, or do you want a vehicle which has a little bit more armor on it instead? Now, for me, personally, I would take the mobility every time over the armor profile, and that's just because I prefer getting into positions where I can use, advantages in my favor instead of having to fight to those positions because of, not being able to get there quick enough. One of the things I found playing stuff like Mark 3s, Mark 5s, and also other vehicles like it is you always feel like you're behind the line trying to push forward and trying to do something. Whereas if you actually have the mobility, such as this Mark 900 will have compared to the other Chieftains, you'll be able to actually get to those positions a bit quicker and fight on equal ground. Now, does that mean that this vehicle is the fastest thing at this BR? No, it still has lower end mobility compared to a lot of the medium tanks, such as the Leopards, for example, and also the KPZ and the MBT-70, vehicles that you see quite a lot around these BRs. But what it also means is the actual British tech tree has something that's just a little bit quicker and therefore will just help it out a little bit more. So let's talk about some of its other factors. First of all, the Chieftain Mark 900 was designed to be an export vehicle, so the upgraded horsepower and also the upgraded transmission was designed to actually kind of get people interested. What it was also designed to do was improve its armor protection in other ways. So if you actually have a look at its armor, you can actually see it looks very much different from the Mark 5, which this vehicle is based on. The armor itself is very limited. You can actually see it's only 4mm and also 4mm on the upper glacis. It does have the standard Mark 5 armor underneath, so you have the cast homogeneous armor, which gives you quite a lot of protection. But yeah, it has a little bit extra, and a little bit is very much the name of the game. So what were they supposed to do with it in real life? Well, the idea was this would basically be the casing, and then they'd put Chobham armor underneath, similar to what the Challenger has and also other vehicles. But guess what? Because nobody wanted it, it never actually was fitted with it. So basically the armor looks different in the game, but it will act pretty much the same. So if you see this vehicle on the battlefield, don't worry too much about the angles. Don't worry too much about like how it's kind of set up. The additional armor is only structural steel, and it's only 4mm thick. So it's really not going to make a huge difference in terms of dealing with most things. There are still holes in it for autocannons and all of that good stuff. Like, you'll be fine to be able to go through it. So don't worry too much about the armor stuff. So in terms of the interiors, it's pretty much exactly the same as the Chieftains. You can see it does have some updated stuff though. You have the FCS, you have the structural steel, which is really nice. You also have the power systems, which are all over the place on this vehicle. You have some really nice modeled radiators and also really nice modeled engine and power electronics setup too. So you have got an updated model with this thing, just like a lot of the other vehicles that are around. You can see here also on the Chieftain that it has a little bit of an updated model, but not a full one like the Mark 900 has. So it looks like they'll probably add this all to other Chieftains too. The Mark 900 also has access to the standard modifications that you find, once again, in a very similar vehicle, the Mark 10. The only difference really is the fact that for some reason on the Mark 10, they've decided to swap where the smoke shell and the artillery is, whereas on the 900, the artillery is more in the center and the smoke shell is on the right, which is a bit silly. The vehicle starts with a stock APDS. This APDS, the L15A3 on the 120mm, is actually not too bad. You know, it's one of those which, of course, you would prefer to have APF SDS, but generally it works very well. This vehicle, being British, uses HESH. We ignore its existence. You also have the Shot L23, which is a rank 3 APF SDS, so it's just going to take a little bit of time to be able to get access to, but once you get it, it has good penetration for the BR and also good kind of post-penetration since it's being fired from a 120mm and nearly has 4 kilos of projectile mass. There are better rounds at this BR. Like you can see here, it's a 192mm at 60 degree. If you have a look at something like the DM33, sorry, from like the Leopard 185 or something similar, for some reason, there you go. So it wouldn't work. You can see it's at 243mm at 60 degrees. And then the A1, which has DM23, is at 195 at 90. So it's kind of comparable to what you'll see from other places, but that extra projectile mass is really nice in terms of kind of setting the vehicle up. You also have the smoke grenades, which works really well. It has 10 of them, which are great. And then you have a smoke shell. If you kind of want to waste rounds, you can have a bit of fun and kind of annoy the enemy by putting it in their face and then being able to move around, which does actually work quite effectively. It's just not a lot of people end up doing it. So in general, this vehicle is looking really good. Like it's a Chieftain with the standard kind of targeting speed, the standard reload, which is a little bit longer than the standard 105 reload, but once again, you hit a bit harder, which is nice. And then also, you just have a bit of extra mobility. Now, as a person who has played all of the Chieftains, I'm very happy to be able to see this vehicle. And I'm very happy that we finally get another vehicle in here. You can see that the first stage ammunition is also 17, so you'll never have to worry about the second stage ammunition. You can see that the optics haven't changed at all. All the things are basically the same across the board. So by the time of playing this Chieftain, which is the third one in the line, or fourth one even, you will have, you know, mastered the gun and also mastered all of the other stuff. One of the things that they did remove from this vehicle, which is kind of sad, they removed the ranging machine gun for the HESH. They probably realized that the HESH was worthless, but it's just one of those things that I suppose you kind of miss. But you can see here, like with the mobility of the vehicle, we're able to hit 40 kilometers an hour with no real issue with a fully stabilized gun and generally just move around the place a little bit better compared to what you would in other Chieftain variants. Now, is it as fast as a Leopard? Is it as fast as the KPZ? Of course not. But if you compare it to other things, like for example the Magax that are around this BR, it's able to move at quite a nice little pace. So this is only an upgrade for the Chieftain. And so if you really enjoy the Chieftain platform, and if you really enjoy how it's kind of set up for, you'll enjoy this vehicle immensely. And it's definitely one that I'll enjoy as we go forward with it. It'll be interesting to also see if in the future they decide to add a version of it which actually has its chopper armor inserts, but at least right now that isn't the case. But who knows? Anything's possible. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.